he blundered his queen.
For the second
and
time in
Magnus
the match.
and Magnus.
Oh, Magnus is cracking up, and Hikaru just throws himself.
Freaking out right now because he just blew yet another completely winning position, and he shakes his head and says terrible under his breath. Well,
that was the longest game of the match in terms of moves played, and it was also maybe potentially the worst played because it seemed like both sides. I mean, Hikaru had so many chances for most of the game, and look at him. He is dejected.
For sure.
He's broken in many ways.
Well, so far this has been the story of the match somewhat. It's not to take anything away from Magnus at all. In fact, it's sort of what we talked about. Hikaru has to convert on his opportunities against the strongest player in the world, or he is not going to win the match. He's had the opportunities, Robert. He's been winning in at least a couple games, and Magnus is resourceful, tough nut defense. He will not be cracked, and it's been frustrating for Hikaru, but it's still early in the match. We still have about an hour and 20 minutes to go, hour and 10 minutes with a 3-game lead for the world champion. This is fun. What's going on here? What's going on in this position? I'm actually asking a chess question, Robert. What's going on here?
I thought you were like, whoa, what's going on? Rhetorical. Right. But no, right now Black is just trying to gain space. It's the point to move pawn to a5, potentially go pawn to a4, open the rook up on the a file. And Black is very solid. Yes, White is ahead in development. Look at the piece development. Bishop e6.
That's right. So far, we have a 7-4 lead there for Magnus Carlsen, for those just joining us. And again, as this game just gets started, we're seeing a position we haven't seen so far, right? This is not an opening that we've seen played at this point, unless I'm forgetting.
No, we have not seen
this. What is this? This is a weird...
It's a weird king. It's trying to go King's Indian, but they both fianchettoed on the king's side.
Fianchetto here. You put your bishops on the long diagonals and hope for tactics, but... Okay. White's better here. I mean, it's frustrating if you're Hikaru because you just lost that last game, but this is a position that looks difficult for Black to equalize.
Wait a second. Bishop takes c4.
And then c5 is what you're thinking?
Exactly.
I read your mind. You're taking advantage of the
I'm wondering if e5 is now possible, opening up the light square. I don't know what's going on here.
Position is becoming a mess.
I think I like what Black, and Magnus does not look happy. He does not look happy about this.
That is what happened, actually. We had c5, e5, we're taking, and then queen takes.
And then knight c6, and I don't really think Black is...
Black is definitely not worse. Not sure if Black can win. Hikaru there slipped into a little bit. I don't know if you saw Hikaru number 11, the slight look up to the left. Those of you paying very close attention get kudos for watching Hikaru's look. Okay, here comes knight c6, as you said. The thing is that White has some targetable pawns, right? And so that makes Black feel pretty good.
Interesting that he didn't want to trade the queens. I guess he felt that it might give White control some of the open files. But now after queen c5, I was going to mention that before he played it, now White definitely has some control over the important squares. But yeah, a very active queen. That's very nice. And you can just, well, now e7 and c6 are hanging. a5 could be hanging potentially. Bishop d4 is an interesting try.
Yeah, there's several moves here to consider for Black. I was just about to say rook d8, promise, and also queen to b4 at some point. You might try to invite this trade because it opens up the a file for Black. So not sure where this lady's headed to, maybe c3 or, okay, so b4 was what I was thinking, and the idea, everybody, is if Magnus trades, he's worsening his chances. So we'll see how Carlsen deals with that.
Yeah, that would not be a favorable trade for White because the rook is open the a file. The e5 pawn is still clearly under attack. And the queen on b4 also protects e7 through the queen.
That's a
protects
very
that important
observant point there. But now what? So now rook to d1 is play. We got all kinds of games of chicken going on, right? We got the rooks staring each other down on the file. Who's going to blink first? You got the queens staring each other down. Just like Kevin Bacon getting his shoe caught in that tractor, we're about to get foot loose up in this, and somebody's going to break first.
That was awesome.
And who's going to blink first? Hikaru's thinking about it, but he doesn't want to blink. But that's the problem with Hikaru. If I was to give an overall assessment, not converting on opportunities, but partly because of time pressure, Hikaru has played a little slower than I've expected in this match. I will say that.
Queen a4, was not expecting that move.
Hikaru totally blinked first. He traded. He was not the Kevin Bacon hero of that scenario.
So rook b8 maybe? I guess he's
Ooh, that's a nice move. Bishop f8 is threatened, and this queen needs to find safety.
Yeah, but at the same time, rook b8 is another idea, right? Bring the rook to the open file. So Magnus trying to...
c4 hanging? Oh, rook d7 might be a party on the 7th rank.
Rook d8.
Ah, ouchtown. I didn't even see that, everybody. If queen takes, rook d8 check, and we will be going to
actually, I can still protect. Queen c5. But the big issue is I've taken a fate. I mean, I can just leave the position forever.
And black is also frozen right now, so that's the other
But I
issue.
can also just take and then take your A pawn and get an outside pass.
So
pawn.
Hikaru doesn't want to be frozen, but he is getting down on time, right? He needs to let it go. Hashtag first frozen reference.
I was going to...
Boom! Let it go. That's my first ever frozen reference
I was
on a
going
chess
to
show.
make it too. I'm very upset with you. I say he may be frozen. He's letting his time go, but
He needs to let it go. He needs to let go of the last game and stop stressing out. He needs to do that scene where Elsa just like pulls the bow out and just whips her hair down. You know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I know you know what I'm talking about.
Why didn't you go rook d8 there? Maybe queen d1 check was the idea somehow. Trading a weird queen trade.
Yeah, that
would
have been interesting. Yeah.
But I don't know because now Hikaru, he can't play bishop g7 because rook d8 check. So
there's a threat now. Rook d7 is a problem. Hikaru is thinking, and he's down on time. He's got to play c5, which is just sort of an ugly move to guard this square. But I think it's
pawn to h4 for white, maybe to start putting pressure on.
I think c5 is forced. But again, the issue is time. Hikaru is shaking his head. He's frustrated with the time management, and I think that's where we're going to see the difference. He's got check and queen f5. A perfect flipping of the script, because if he can defend this, even with rook takes f7, once he trades and rook takes, that rook is trapped.
Wait, but now
f6.
the bishop. Yeah, you're right. So queen f5.
Yeah. If rook takes, queen takes, rook takes, you guard the e6 pawn, and the rook is at least sort of out of play, right? You have to see rook f4.
Right.
So I think that Hikaru is sort of put the question to Magnus.
And after rook f4, you can go rook back to b8 and then take over to b file, get the a pawn.
No, players are defending like just. I mean,
this is the second time we've seen Hikaru sacrifice a pawn. Remember
to go, and he ended up winning that game. That's right. Holding on to the bind on the king side is Magnus Carlsen. He'd rather have a bind than the pawn. Hashtag Dvoretsky, rest in peace. That is the Dvoretsky school of chess. It is the correct school of chess.
Unfortunately, that bind does not look like
it may not keep it, because if this rook starts getting out and this king finds it safe, this f6 pawn may be overextended. Very, very tricky stuff here.
Okay, he's immediately going out for this. Makes sense.
Switching back to the view of the scoreboard, reminding those who just joined us right now, Magnus Carlsen has a 3-game lead in the match. If you don't know the chess.com interface, look at the numbers right here next to the username. You see the Magnus logo. You see so that will also tell you the total score in the match throughout, as well as our view here, which tells you the total time left in the 3 minutes is 33 minutes. So what's happening, partner?
So it looks like both sides of a pass pawn on the queen side. Rook c2 here, getting behind the pawn, is not enough because the pawn will go to c7, where it is protected by that bishop on g3. So unfortunately for Hikaru, it looks like he's going down in this one. That would be a 4-game deficit.
He's going to get the pawn to a3.
e5. Yeah, he's resigning. He's throwing in the towel. Yep.
Why?
And Nualita again as the top. Well,
we have looked into the account of Nualita because we like to know who everybody